President Biden's pandemic relief economic stimulus bill, his first major legislative initiative, is one of the largest bills ever enacted in congressional history, as reported by the Washington Post. It's almost $2 trillion as scored by the Congressional Budget Office, and that adds $2 trillion to the federal debt it's not paid for. And it's more than double the size of President Obama's $800 billion 209 stimulus bill. It's 628 pages long, took almost 11 hours to read on the Senate floor, is the sixth pandemic relief bill, the only one to pass without bipartisan support, and was the longest vote in modern Senate history as described by the New York Times. After a 24-hour round-the-clock session, it passed the Senate on a 50-50 vote, with Vice President Harris breaking the tie. All of this is happening in a very politically charged environment, both between Democrats and Republicans, and there are tensions within the Democratic caucus. President Biden chose the budget reconciliation process, which is a fast-track Senate process only requiring 51 votes, so that no Republican votes were required for its passage. And President Biden chose not to seek a bipartisan compromise. Now, political pollster Charlie Cook believes this was sort of a mixed opportunity to fix our broken political system going forward. And as I said in our January Kenan Insights, our country is exceedingly divided, and the governing margins between the House and the Senate are paper thin. But the reasons President Biden probably did this is because he is wrestling with political fissures within the Democratic caucus between his progressives who want to spend big and act aggressively, and the centrists who are seeking political unity and fiscal restraint. This large package contains various buckets of spending, some pandemic related, some not. It certainly contains $14 billion to fund the coronavirus vaccine distribution and money for testing. And there's government assistance in income supplements for hard-hit group through increased unemployment benefits of $300 a week on top of the regular unemployment benefits that are in place, and those are extended through September 6th. There's general support of an increase of after-tax income by over 20% for the lowest 20% of U.S. income earners. And that is accomplished through $1,400 checks that are sent to individuals making up to $75,000, and two checks, or $2,800, going to two-income households of up to $150,000. There are government payments for 100% of healthcare premiums for individuals to pay their COBRA premiums, who are individuals who are anywhere between 100% and 400% of the federal poverty level. And there's $350 billion to state, local, and tribal governments, and $130 billion for primary and secondary schools. So some of this is not necessarily pandemic related, but it contains $30 billion in transit and infrastructure spending and reforms, some multi-employer pension bailout dollars, and what was described as expanded welfare support or more generous direct benefits for low-income Americans, as cited by the New York Times, in forms of tax credits. There's the child tax credit, the earned income tax credit, and child independent care credits that are just expanded tax payments to those lower income Americans. There's a $12 billion expansion of food stamps and a $45 billion rental, utility, and mortgage assistance in this package. Now, those are the knowns. There are several unknowns when it comes to this package. There's the unknown of what does this stimulus do on the impact of the economy, particularly at a time when with vaccines and we're hoping to reopen again. There's some disagreements between economists, including Larry Summers, who was former Treasury Secretary for President Clinton and served as President Obama's Director of National Economic Council. He has some concerns that this could overheat the economy and stoke high inflation. So that's one unknown. Another unknown is to what extent will the increased unemployment benefits keep workers from rejoining the economy, perhaps providing a disincentive to go back to work. The risk is that as the vaccine rolls out, the economy opens up, and you've got the first $10,200 of these unemployment benefits coming in tax-free. That was one of the concerns that Democratic Senator Joe Manchin had in adjusting some of those unemployment benefits. Another unknown is how did the scope and spending levels of the $1.9 trillion and the spending categories arrived at? Steve Pearlstein, who's the Washington Post economist, has been asking that question to say, how do we know that they're at the right level? And how will the dollars be distributed and spent? We don't know that yet because under this fast track process of budget reconciliation, there weren't the usual process of committee hearings and expert witnesses and testimony coming in to inform the process. And finally, one of the unknowns is what will the ultimate cost of this bill be? Now, the CBO scoring on the bill is almost $2 trillion, $1.9 trillion, but that's assuming that these child and earned income tax care credits are only extended for 1 year. If they're made permanent, those tax credits alone would increase the cost of the bill to $3.3 trillion over 10 years. So stay tuned. With this bill and the prior $4 trillion in COVID pandemic relief from last Congress, we have now spent $6 trillion to date on our 6 total bills in the COVID pandemic economic stimulus plan, and infrastructure is coming up next, and that's rumored to cost between $4 and $8 trillion. So stay tuned. We'll see where this goes, and I'm sure we'll have many economists and researchers weighing in on this process.